Today you're going to hear from a retired police lieutenant turned dog aggression expert, and we're going to discuss with him what to do if your dog bites another dog, another person, a child. Okay, what are the first steps you need to take after you separate your dog? But also, what from a legal perspective do you need to know or cover to make sure that your dog is safe? Today we're going to answer all of those questions, so if you're interested, keep watching. What's up guys, it's Jenna with Dog Liaison, where I coach you on how to enhance your dog's mental health needs. And on this channel, we break down scientific research in order to inform and educate us on how to train dogs. So if you're interested in a nerdier approach to dog training, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I interviewed Jim Crosby, who is a retired police lieutenant from Florida turned certified dog behavior consultant. And he is the guy all the police departments call when they have a fatal dog attack. He has worked globally. He has not just worked in the US, but he is the leading expert. And I'll be completely honest, I was not able to find another person in the world who has blended these two careers together. And so he has a very unique perspective, and we're very lucky to have gotten to talk to him. So let's say your dog just aggressed towards another dog, another person, another child, and you were just able to split them apart. You ran them to the backyard, they're separated, your heart is pumping, you're like, oh my God, you're running on full of adrenaline. What do you do next?
So we separate Fluffy. Obviously, the first thing you want to do is address if there's injuries, because if you don't, it makes you look really, really callous and really bad. If there's another dog involved, then we still want to assist the owner in addressing injuries, and then I would go ahead and document the situation. You don't have to be all CSI TV about it, but you will help me or whoever else is involved, be it animal control or attorneys, by documenting what's going on. And that means documenting the good and the bad, who the person is and how to contact them. Look for who actually was present and witnessed it. Having been a police officer for so many years, people convince themselves that they've seen something when they really heard it or heard about it later. How was this person dressed? Where, they got bit on the hand, but were they wearing a giant Carmen Miranda fruit stuck everywhere hat? For protective purposes later, if you can, take some photographs immediately of the injury. You don't want to record somebody without their permission. That's an issue. In some states it's legal, in most states it's not. But take a couple of photographs. Put an object in the field of the photograph. It can be a coin, it can be a dollar bill, something that we can use to compare the size of the injury to a non-changing reference object.
The reason it's important that you put a coin, a dollar bill, something that is going to be the same measurement no matter what, the reason it's important you put that next to the wound is because the animal control officers, the lawyers, the police department, whoever is investigating this incident is going to need to know exactly the measurements of the wound. These investigators are not going to use vague terminology like, oh, well, there was this much blood and it looked like pretty big, and they avoid vague terminology. They want to know quantifiable evidence.
Was it 2 centimeters across or 6 centimeters across? Was there one hole? Were there 14 holes? Was it a single bite? Was it a series of bites? Was there clothing in the way that made it less or more serious than it was? All of those are potential issues, both legally and also when it comes to having to defend or accept that your dog may have done something that was inappropriate.
Ideally, you're able to take these pictures of the wounds before any sort of procedure or wrapping has happened. So this might even be before the ambulance shows up. And I do want to clarify that the information we're giving here is true even if your dog air nips. So even if your dog doesn't quite break skin, some sort of documentation is important. Still reporting it to animal control, and especially if it's a kid, still reporting it to their parents is necessary. You know, the documentation may not be as in-depth if there's no wound or if there's no like breaking or anything, but you still need to have your ducks in a row, y'all. The unfortunate truth is that statistically speaking, dog aggression occurs more frequently towards children. And a lot of times people think that this means that a particular dog that aggressed towards a kid is automatically more aggressive than a dog that attacked, you know, an adult person's calf. And that isn't automatically true.
What I look at in investigating a bite is, did the dog bite the closest part of the person, or did the dog target? And so if you have a child that runs up and closes quickly with a dog and hugs them, the closest part of that child is its face. So what is a dog looking for space going to do? They're going to snap at the closest target in order to make that target back off. With kids, that tends to be the face. With us grown-ups, a lot of times it's a hand or an ankle or a calf. If you have a bite though, for instance, an adult is standing up, but the dog comes off the ground and targets center of mass or above, that even if it's the same number of holes, that behavior is far more concerning than the same dog biting the person that's approaching them on the ankle, because that's an escalation of force and its focus.
One of the necessary evils as an outcome to a dog aggression or dog attack is that that dog now needs to be quarantined. But having current rabies vaccines is going to make that quarantine potentially easier for your dog.
The national standard here in the US and in a lot of other places is they quarantine the dog for 10 days, because if your dog doesn't drop dead from rabies in 10 days, nobody has it. If your animal is vaccinated and is even reasonably within the vaccination requirement times, a lot of times they will do a home quarantine. A lot of places provide in the law where you can board the dog at an agreeable veterinary clinic at your expense, rather than having your dog locked up at a shelter. And there are times where that's not a bad idea.
Now, obviously, everyone's going to have a little bit different laws, whether that's because you're not in the US, you're in another country altogether, or you're a different state, different county, different local jurisdictions, things like that. So it is important that you're getting familiar with your local laws. And Jim recommends that you Google dangerous dog and then enter in your city or your location and find the relevant information for you. And in fact, you want to do this whether your dog is reactive or currently aggressive or not. Either way, you should become familiar with what your local laws are. And after you do some Googling, tell me in the comments your local laws, because I'd just be curious to see how those rules or those laws are different around the world. It'd be interesting to kind of compare. So let me know in the comment section below. Once everything has calmed down and, you know, maybe your dog is in the middle of quarantine, it's day 6, day 7, whatever, now you're probably considering whether or not you should get training. A lot of times people want to jump to conclusions and automatically assume that training is going to fix all of their problems, but there are a couple of things you need to consider before you jump right in. First, you need to think about the emotional investment. You know, having a dog who has a bite history is emotionally taxing, and it's going to require a lot of effort on your part. Logistically, it's going to also require a lot of effort from you. Like literally, you're gonna have to do a lot of things to make sure that your dog can see improvements. And I think it's important that we are realizing the investment, not just the financial investment, which is also a lot, but the overall emotional and mental investment that you need to give a dog who has a bite history.
because one of the, if not the most important factor in dealing with a biting or even unreasonably aggressive dog is owner commitment. The owners have to be committed to going the whole way. It's one of those things we have to look at the total circumstances to figure out what the purpose of the bite was, because every bite has a purpose.
It's important for you to realize, and for whatever trainer, whatever rescue you work with, whoever, to realize that your dog's aggression, your dog's attack occurred for a reason. It did not just come out of the blue, and we need to be addressing that reason instead of just marking off the dog as, well, he's aggressive.
When you look for training and you're talking to somebody, if the first thing that happens is the person walks up and says, yeah, I'm a badass and I can handle any dog out there. See all the scars on my arms? That means they've screwed up. Just be careful of those people who, try to impress you with all their stories of things that are actually mistakes that they should have known better. Every time I've been bitten, it's been my fault. I've made a mistake. That's why I wear protective gear, so that my mistake doesn't cost a dog its life. A good trainer or investigator are going to ask that may sound off the wall and may sound irrelevant, but if I'm investigating a bite, I want to know as much as I can about that animal's history, as far back as we've got. And then you can drill down. Okay, what time of day was it? What was the lighting? What was going on around the dog and who was present? What had the dog been doing an hour before, 30 minutes before, 10 minutes before, 30 seconds before, 10 seconds before? And paint as clear a picture, if you will, of the whole situation that you possibly can, because the trainer may be able to see things that you're too close to see. And the biggest thing I think it's important for trainers and owners to realize is bites have a purpose. And at the moment, to the dog, the bite made sense.
A huge thank you to Jim Crosby for lending his expertise to us. You can find out all of his information in the description box below. I really recommend you check him out. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button to let the YouTube algorithm know. If your dog is dealing with any sort of aggressive behavior, anxiety-related disorders, please check out this playlist that I have for you and consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys soon.